And we're back for episode 4 of That Time I Got Reincarnated in the Same World as an Anime Podcaster. Welcome back if you've been listening. If this is your first time here, we're a group of friends who have been watching anime for a while, reading manga and talking about it, and we decided that we should have our conversations recorded so that everybody can enjoy them. I'm your host, Isekai Sensei-Sama, aka Brad, and I'm joined today in our Weeb Cabal by Kermit D. Grog, aka Andrew.
Every week you say Weeb Cabal, it makes me smile because that is a word I love to use. I love different words for groups, and Cabal is one of my favorite ones because it is so sinister sounding for such a simple thing as Weeb Club.
And we're also joined by Bento Baggins, aka Ben.
Moshi moshi, minasan.
And he's going to just keep doing that. So here we go. So before we jump into it, just a reminder, hit us up on social media. Let us know how you like this. You can check us out on Good Pods, which is a good place to listen to the podcast and then leave a comment. We'd love to hear from you. So you know what my favorite show on Netflix recently was?
Oh, I do not.
Cowboy Bebop.
Was it really?
Yeah.
That classic anime?
Yeah. Well, you say anime. I don't think it was animated, though. There was I'm pretty sure those were real people.
You're dead to me.
That the animation budgets have gone clearly up if we thought those people were real. That's impressive.
Yeah.
Just to clarify, I did not watch the live-action Cowboy Bebop, nor do I condone it. However,
doing it.
It does bring up an interesting conversation, which is we've seen a bunch of different anime get adapted to live action in the last couple of years, and it seems to be overall not a good thing.
Both in America and Japan. I think I do want to make that clear because I know we're kind of talking about Netflix, but like Japan's got some real stinkers too. So
that's what I was going to mention. I was like, are we talking about just Western attempts to bring anime to live action? Or...
Well, so there's probably something that you guys can teach me here because I'm really only familiar with the Western adaptations, which are just atrocious. Really good example that comes to mind is the Ghost in the Shell movie, where they were just like, hey, let's have a white woman play this Japanese woman. That sounds like a good idea.
I feel like this is something I've learned more through osmosis than actually like watching them. Like I'm aware of a lot of them. Like
I will say, so the Ghost in the Shell movie looked visually very good, except for the fact that she was the wrong race, which sounds bad to say out loud, but I think it's okay. And the thing is Scarlett Johansson is an excellent actress. She just shouldn't have been in that role.
That's a toughie. Because I know there was, when that movie came out, I've seen that movie, I've seen the Cowboy Bebop Netflix show.
Bless you.
When that movie came out, they interviewed a bunch of Japanese people about whether or not Scarlett Johansson should play Motoko Kusanagi.
Yeah, I think I saw that.
And most of them didn't care one way or the other, but I think that's partly because Japan has this perception of America that it's a bunch of white people and a few minorities, and they don't realize just quite how many different kinds of people are here, and that there are plenty of Asian actresses in Hollywood.
And I think while asking Japanese people how they feel about that is probably good in terms of, is the group who would actually be affected by it or not? But I think it says something more overall because there are other groups of people who have been pushed aside, who don't get proper representation, that it does actively harm.
Oh yeah. I'm not defending the choice of Scarlett Johansson. I'm just saying, like, in Japan, they view it as, well, if we made an Avengers movie, everybody in it's going to be Japanese because it's Japan. So if you make a Ghost in the Shell movie in America...
Would the Japanese Avengers be a Super Sentai?
Yes.
Yes. It would turn into that.
Yes.
Yeah. I'd watch that.
That'd be pretty dope. I mean, they already make a bunch of Kamen Rider, Power Rangers movies, so...
Yeah.
So I guess what if we're going on casting, I mean, I've got even a tangent to that little bit of, are characters in anime just default Japanese because their default language is Japanese. Like the thing I always think of, and I promise I can get this back to live action then, is like the JoJo series. It's like nobody, not that I would necessarily know what like a British Japanese accent is, but like everybody in JoJo just talks like it. But the dub, everybody talks with an accent of where they're from.
Yeah.
So like Jonathan is a proper British guy, which I'm not going to do that voice right now.
Well, that's an
and
interesting...
technically Joseph is too until he becomes old.
That's an interesting point, because if I think about manga and anime, the characterizations of non-Japanese people are normally not really that different from the Japanese people.
They're just from somewhere else.
It's generally hard to tell until they say it explicitly that, oh, this is supposed to be an English person, American, whatever.
Well, let's take a weirder example of the Cowboy Bebop adaptation. One of the things I think they got right was the casting.
Yeah.
I mean, John Cho's a little old, but I did actually like his Spike. But I had no problem with Jet being cast as a black actor. Mm-hmm. But weirdly to me, and I guarantee, I don't guarantee because I don't know what a Japanese audience would think, Jet was always kind of coded black to me.
Oh,
I think that was the vibe of it. Yeah.
But he's not, I mean, his skin's pretty light in the anime. I don't know if he was supposed to be a black character.
Well, there are a very wide variety of skin tones.
That's true.
But there's a certain people. It's a vibe, it's a feeling. It's you know.
It's just a coding. Like he just felt like, I mean, they're buddy cop too. And it's, you know, Cowboy Bebop was a weird one because Cowboy Bebop is heavily influenced by Western stuff. There's a ton of Neuromancer in there. There's obviously the cowboy aspect of it. And then it goes through a Japanese filter, and then it comes back through an American filter. And why didn't it work?
That's a good point.
It's you feed English into Google Translate to Japanese, and then feed it back and see how legible the return string is about what you were initially putting in.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's really easy to get lost in the conversation about casting Scarlett Johansson and whitewashing non-white characters.
And maybe that's too low-hanging fruit.
It's too easy. I feel like it's been done. I don't think us is going to say anything particularly new or thought-provoking about it, but that's definitely a thing filed in the back of the old brainstem.
That's not why that movie failed.
No.
Right.
That movie failed because it didn't feel like Ghost in the Shell. It didn't catch that vibe.
And I think that's the thing that fails, at least in the live-action adaptations that I'm familiar with. The thing that fails the most is that they don't really capture the heart of what the anime did in the first place. Like they can look really good, and in fact, like you said, Cowboy Bebop looked good. The Ghost in the Shell looked good. The other one that I can think of is the Death Note. That one looked pretty good, although the CG character I
actually liked Ryuk in that.
There's something missing. There's something that feels to me like
somebody missed the point.
Yeah.
Somebody is not the vibe on here.
Let me say, I want to be fair to the things we're talking about. Cowboy Bebop felt like it was made by people who really liked the show and they were trying to get it right. It just didn't quite hit the mark for me. There's a lot of scenes that are like shot-for-shot remakes of the show. And that's almost kind of a problem because the actors couldn't capture the energy of animation.
Yeah, if you're going to try to do... Like, that's the thing. Are you going to try to do the exact same thing? But then why would you do that? We already have the animated version for it. But if it strays too far, like a Death Note did, people also get uppity about that. And admittedly, for a lot of these, I haven't seen them. I can't talk with complete authority. Something I was worried going into this episode about was like, there's very few that like I know about a lot, but there's very few that I've seen and can talk as an authority. But like that one at least seemed interesting to me that it's like, hey, we're doing this in America, and some of the kind of structures are similar, but like obviously we're in America, it is going to be different, and I think you can do something cool with that, especially with Death Note, which is such a just conceptual idea, and also Japan's already made 3 live action versions of it. They made a bunch of them. Like, I think there is something to somebody reading it and going, oh, let's do this idea with, like, it's not the same story, but it's got a couple of the same kind of ideas and beats in it. Ryuka's there with his design. I think Willem Dafoe was a cool idea for that one. But people kind of dunked on that one as well. So it's like, Cowboy Bebop sounds like it's trying to stick too close to the source material without getting it, and Death Note sounds like it strayed too far, and maybe it had some other mess-ups. I genuinely don't know. We're kind of out of the media cycle where people are talking about it, so I don't recall what was, like, supposedly wrong with it.
Cowboy Bebop, to me, felt like it was made by somebody who really liked the original and wanted to do it.
It's just an homage.
And Death Note felt to me like somebody who was trying to take a source material they found weird and make it palatable to a Western audience. Like it seemed to me like underestimating the general audience. Like live action anime adaptations in the West often feel like they're apologizing for the weirdness.
Yes.
And then live action anime adaptations in the East often feel too much like trying to do shot-for-shot remakes. It almost looks like cosplay.
Also, the budgets aren't usually very good, and at least at the time that I'm remembering for some of these, like the
wig budget needs
like a live action, the live action. I've never seen it, but I've been dying to, like the live action JoJo Part 4, live action Attack on Titan. There's some others I can't remember because they're all so messed up, but it's like the CG is usually heinous. Like it's just they seem like they're made very cheaply, and they're just
Full Metal Alchemist. With CG Al.
What? Oh my gosh. Because like we don't even hear about these here. Like
that one's on Netflix, or it was for a while.
Oh gosh.
Do you think that Japan does the live action adaptations better?
No. I don't think anybody. I have one silver bullet loaded in my back pocket, and I'm saving it for later. But there is only one that I can think of that I could go, no, this one was a good time. But there's so many I can think of Dragon Ball Evolution. It's not an anime, but I feel like the Avatar, the Last Airbender movie, feels like it fits in that family of like, you just didn't get it. You did not understand. And I think with a movie
is a rabbit hole.
Exactly. We don't need to get into there.
Down.
And I feel like the like trying to do a live action series is a newer thing. Was the Death Note one a series or a movie? It was a movie. The Bebop was a series.
Does a movie?
We've got that One Piece series coming as well. Like Netflix is trying series, and I feel like that is like a thing that's still being felt out that could maybe work out better, because obviously these things are long-running series, and to try to capture it and all of its weirdness in a single movie where you're already having to do so much just is...
Does a movie not have enough room to actually capture it? Like, does a movie, by its very nature, be a worse adaptation than a live-action series?
Well, I'd ask, why does Iron Man work? Why does the Avengers work? It used to be true of American superhero movies, I think, until like X-Men hit and Spider-Man hit. That's a really good point. Because just until you said that, I hadn't even thought, like, oh yeah, those are adaptations of comic books. That's the same thing that we're talking about. Yeah. But for some reason, those work. Well, they didn't always.
But you're right. Yeah.
No, but it took time to have people who knew the source material and understood it and felt it getting to making it. It's like, we haven't gotten that yet with with anime, but also I feel like that really connects, especially with that point about like they keep trying to take the weirdness out, is like video game movies. Like people haven't figured those out yet.
But maybe that's the thing. Maybe that would be the turning point of making a live action adaptation of a manga actually work, which is what I think makes the Western superhero movies work, which is they take the ideas and stuff from the comic, but then they make it completely their own. Like, here's this character, but here's still powers.
It feels like
we're
it, though.
Make a movie, and we're just going to character.
But it's
here's
still
the power. Maybe the storyline's similar, but like they're not trying to match the aesthetic of the comic book, which, granted, seems like it's harder to do. It would be harder to match the aesthetic of a comic book than a manga, for some reason in my head that's what's coming up. But like those movies don't take that source material and go, okay, we need to hit these shots. We need to do. No, they say, here's the movie that we're making, and we're just borrowing the story and the characters.
But they also embrace they embrace what makes it. They don't just go, here's a sterile list of things that we need to pull. They get the feeling that the idea of the characters and that, you know, the vibe, and they run with it instead of kind of going, ew. Like, that was why, at least personally, it's like the like DC film universe with Snyder or whatever. It's just like, he was just so like, I don't like weird comic book stuff. And I don't like those movies because they kind of have that kind of dislike of their own source material, of the weirdness of it. And the ones that like embrace that the most are the most fun and
I personally like the DC movies. Like, I think they get a lot of hate that they don't deserve.
I watched the Snyder Cut over 2 nights and was miserable.
That said, the Batman vs. Superman was probably the worst one, but the other ones in the series, especially like an Aquaman was great.
I've heard good things about Aquaman. Shazam was great. I had a great time with both of the Suicide Squad movies, but it's just like, I feel like comics have been around long enough and have had enough hits that there's enough respect for them and people know how to do them. And I feel like that we haven't hit that breaking point with anime. Right. It's seeping into more things. We had a whole conversation about that, where anime is seeping into like American cartoons and just other places. Like, it's present. It's just the people who are making those things haven't made it to Hollywood, and that there's enough people there in Hollywood that there's not the people going, no, take out this weird stuff. And it's like, I'm here for the weird stuff. I'm here for the thing that makes this special.
So we need an anime Kevin Feige.
Well, I would throw out Battle Angel Alita.
Yeah, actually, that's a really good example.
Movie.
You know what?
I've heard good things about that. One's not my silver bullet.
That one doesn't pop into my head as an example because I wasn't aware that it was a manga before. And so I saw the movie and I was like, oh, this is a good movie.
So the thing with Battle Angel Alita, they did change some stuff, but it didn't really hit. It like barely made its money back, I think. It didn't flop, but it didn't get a sequel greenlit.
It's not known, and at least for me in my generation of weebiness, I know we kind of have like a slightly different generational gap in that. I mean, not too big of like, I had never heard of that before the movie came out. That had never entered my ears. No one I knew ever talked about it. I didn't see it on the internet anywhere. It just isn't.
Well, one of the things I think worked against it was James Cameron obviously really liked Battle Angel Alita, and he got it. And he did it right as well as I can tell, but I think it was too weird for general audiences. I think it was like, if you presented the general population with Battle Angel Alita, it's probably too weird for most people. It doesn't really get out of its niche.
Are these live action adaptations for fans of the original or for the general public? I mean, technically the answer is both, because money, but like, who are you making it for? I feel like, again, I have been thinking about video game movies for years. It has been a constant topic in my friend group for a long time. I have a friend who's presented multiple panels and talked about like all the different movies that came out and like which ones were the most popular and all that. And it's like, it's been generally trending upward, but nobody's like got it yet. There is not yet like a truly great...
I'd say it goes by budget. If you're going to spend the money James Cameron spent, you need general audiences to turn out. You need it to go beyond people who were fans of the original. And I think he got beyond fans of the original, but I don't think he got beyond people who would have liked the original had they come across it anyway.
That's a really good way to put that.
I don't think he got it into... Like, he didn't do for Battle Angel Alita what Feige did for Iron Man.
Mm-hmm.
Here's an idea. I just thought about this one, actually, because it's technically both an anime live-action adaptation and a video game one. The Detective Pikachu movie. I don't know if either of you guys have seen that.
I've seen it.
Like, solid movie. And the thing it does is, even though the Pokemon don't necessarily exactly look like they do in anything else, like... The one thing that movie got the best is just a feeling of I'm living in a Pokemon world. It got a vibe.
They definitely hit that thing where it's like, okay, these are obviously not real things, but we're also going to give them a fidelity that you've never seen before with like, you know, the fur textures and all that.
But they made it like it's that thing where it's just like there's a way to make things that are kind of different than what you're used to still work and read as those things. Like that was a movie but that was so much of like the background and everything. It was just always in a shot and just little transition moments. And like the movie itself, the story's fine. And like Ryan Reynolds Pikachu is really funny and entertaining. I remember having a good time in the theater with that, but it's like that part is like, that's not Pokemon, but because it is so good, it just works in people like the movie. I feel like that's another thing with adaptations. It's like, if you just do a good job, the laundry list of reasons people don't like things usually gets smaller if they just had a good time. Because there's like part of Detective Pikachu felt like Pokemon, and part of it was just like, there's never been this kind of wisecracking in a Pokemon thing of any variety, really.
I think Pokemon had become ubiquitous enough that you can tell a story with Pokemon that doesn't follow like the pre-established anime.
Yeah, you don't need those characters, but there's like a certain... I think that's what all these come down into, is feeling.
Yeah.
It's like, this doesn't... I'm here because I liked the original, and I want something that looks different and maybe does some different things, but still feels like the original. The freaking Uncharted movie that's coming out doesn't feel like Uncharted at all because nobody feels like the characters they're supposed to be. You've got like Tiny Baby playing Grizzled Man and Grizzled Man playing Old Man, and it just doesn't read as Uncharted. It's like, why am I here? This is just another like Indiana Jones ripoff, but the thing that I'm here for doesn't feel like that. So it's like, what am I doing?
So this is one where I actually haven't read the source material, but what's that Tom Cruise, Emily Blunt movie?
Edge of Tomorrow.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I haven't read the original source material, but what?
I love that movie.
That's a great movie.
I don't know if they changed it from the source material.
From what I know, because I don't know the source material, but from what I've heard, it's different enough. And I think we keep coming back to that. And it makes me wonder...
What, that people don't know the source material?
Either don't know the source material, or they've adapted it in a way that they're not trying to do like one for one or close to one for one. So, I think about the Cowboy Bebop adaptation where they did hit some of the marks, the casting. And it makes me wonder if they had just said, we want to hit a couple of these things, the characterizations, the quippiness,
the vibe of all you have to do is capture the vibe of Cowboy Bebop. That is what Cowboy Bebop is
right.
The feeling of
if
it.
They would have made it its own thing aside, like if they just would have hit the core parts of it, would it have hit and been excellent?
I want to say Cowboy Bebop you should watch it. Like if you're actually interested in this conversation, you should watch it because it's kind of like C tier in all of this. They didn't completely fall on their face. I think the reaction to it was a little bit more knee-jerky,
as most reactions are.
Like I feel like that's part of my point, is that like people know the source material and hold it up as like anime heavenly ground. So it's like, you have to really, like, you are messing with a sacred child here. You need to know what you're doing with it.
Especially something like Cowboy Bebop, which is just like,
so short. It's here. What is it? 13 episodes.
Is that controversial to say?
No, I wouldn't say so. At least top 10. But like what? It's like 13 episodes. It's here and it's gone and it's remembered. It's held up forever. It's not like all these, like a Dragon Ball or something
26
else.
26 episodes.
26. Like these long running series. It's just, it was here, it did its thing, and it was out, and we still talk about it. Like, that's nuts.
I didn't like some of the things they changed. I think Cowboy Bebop kind of wallows in its melodrama. And this show didn't do that. And that was what didn't feel like Cowboy Bebop to me. Like, they tried to make the show a little bit more fun. There's a lot of people out there that did like it for what it was, though. For me, I liked the big dramatic Cowboy Bebop where Spike speaks in nothing but like metaphor and riddle. And everything is some big poetic metaphor for death. Do you know Spike's supposed to be 26 years old in that anime?
That's another thing of animation. It's just ages are all sorts of weird and funky.
How can
talks like a 60-year-old?
Did you know Jotaro's in his teens, even though he looks like a man in his 30s? Like, and he's only aging backwards while he ages forward?
I don't understand how a character like Spike Spiegel can be simultaneously like one of the coolest, most badass characters there are, and just also completely insufferable. Like,
because he sounds cool saying it.
Right, you completely miss the fact that he's unsufferable while you're watching it.
Yeah, because he never gives anybody a straight answer about anything. He's always like, I lost my eye in a battle. the left eye sees only the past. And it's like, I was asking you what you wanted for breakfast, Spike. I don't know
Spike,
what this has to
we
do
don't
with
have
anything.
any money. We can only eat bell peppers. What are we going to do?
Yeah. But that was my...
There's just no work out there for us anymore.
Gotta get into voice acting over there, Brad. Jeez.
That was my problem with that. But I think a big part of visually what didn't work for the Cowboy Bebop live action, because there was a lot that did visually work. Their CG was on point. For whatever their budget was, their CG was on point. What didn't work was actually the stuff where they lost the energy of the animation. Like just watching the opening, the easiest example I could give is when they run in the opening, it shows everybody running. That looping animation they use in the anime has this energy to it that a human being can't have. You can't shoot that angle to like, it's distorted.
Yeah.
There's also the frame rate on those animations
Yeah.
is different from the actual show, which gives it a weird energy.
Yeah.
And you could do that in live action, but it just doesn't sort of make sense. And
they're only
frame rate other than 24 or 30 or 60 or whatever, the standard frame rates.
it's going to look
live
weird.
action.
And if you're going to try to do a direct remake of something, all you're doing is inviting comparison that you can never satisfy brains for.
And you can meticulously with animation sync it with the jazz.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Which is supposed to be a big part of Cowboy Bebop.
correct. Tank is like literally one of the greatest openings ever.
They kept the jazz. They knew they needed to do that.
Yeah.
But when the energy of the visuals and the energy of the music is not synced, which again, like Cowboy Bebop was just one of those things that was meant to be an animation. And it works as an animation. It wouldn't work as a manga.
Then I guess we come back to, or maybe we come to the first time of then, are any of these worthwhile? Why are we doing this? Which is a question, again, with video games I've been asking for a long time. Why do we want this?
If it's not worthwhile, why does Japan keep doing it?
Why do we keep doing it? Why does everybody?
The thing is like like the West does it, but not that often. But I see them coming out of Japan all the time, and it seems to me that Japan, the Japanese adaptations to live action really lean into. We are just going to make the anime with real people.
Yeah.
It's so much CGI, all the effects and everything that they're doing. It's like the anime already exists. Why are we doing this?
I think it's I loved this thing and I want to bring it into the world, because it's when you go to a freaking con and you see the great cosplay and you're like, that would look great if they made a live action. I feel like it's just, we're wired into our brains that all of our other media has to become real people, because that's what gives it this weight that it won't get, because it already exists in its like perfect form.
That's what I was going to say. Live action lends legitimacy
Yep.
to a story. Mm-hmm. Because animation is just one step abstracted from seeing an actual person do it. And more people relate to watching people than relate to watching cartoons. You're always going to lose the general audience with an animation, unless it's for kids. I don't think we've ever really broken that.
Nope,
That's
we haven't.
I don't
Not
I don't
truly.
know that quite works, because
What?
if they're so popular in Japan, like
I don't think they are with adults. I think that's a lie
okay.
we tell ourselves a little bit.
because the thing with me is the Japanese ones that are like leaning so heavily into this is just a live action anime, you sort of have like those are geared specifically to the people who already like the anime. Like who's watching that hasn't seen the anime and goes, "Oh, this is great."
Who are they for, and what are they for?
I have a weird example.
And I wish I could answer the Japan question, because I don't know. I don't live there.
I have a weird example for the Japanese adaptation, and that is Rurouni Kenshin.
I've seen at least some of the action scenes, and they look incredible.
Yeah.
It's not bad. And it is like a big soap opera. They keep the drama.
They go for it. They embrace it. They're not just going, hey, we're having hokey fun with this thing we love. We are going to go for the vibe of this.
Well, and the guy who plays Kenshin looks plausible. Like the costumes are good. I think that's a big part of it too. Is like when you see live action Full Metal Alchemist and this guy is in the
worst
a blonde wig that could have bought at Goodwill. Like, it's not.
They're not trying very hard.
Yeah.
The thing with Roroni
Kenshin.
The thing with the Roroni Kenshin.
Get the rice-a-roni.
You sound like a dog.
The thing with the Kenshin live action one is that, at least from what I've seen, they didn't go heavy with the CGI. There's wire work, but like, if you didn't know it was an anime adaptation, you probably wouldn't be able to tell just from watching it.
No, they made it feel like a martial arts movie.
Right. It
took on another form besides just the thing that it was.
Right. And that's what we said before, is like, it needs to do its own thing and not just rely on being from an anime, but just take the things from the anime that are sort of the tentpoles of it and build its own thing with it.
That goes into my theory of like, if it works, people will accept it.
Right.
There were certain things like that's like I keep coming back to Detective Pikachu because that is the ultimate one. That movie worked and was fun and funny, and that's why people liked it and could forego certain things about it. Because it was just a good time. It was a genuinely good time, and not like, okay, I'm putting up with this. There's some nice winks for me, but it's okay. It's like no, I had a great time at it, and things that are good get on people's good side. Who would have guessed?
I think one of the challenges is that anime and manga tend to have clumsy world building. And by that I mean it's just an accepted part of the genre that some guy, our fish out of water protagonist, is introduced to a world with a bunch of rules and hierarchies and traditions and norms, and they're just all explained to him.
Yeah, and how do you do that in a movie without it just being constant start-stop exposition train? Yeah.
Detective Pikachu found a way to show not tell that.
So what you're saying is, if it was an isekai live action adaptation, then it would work.
I died and went to a movie filming for an isekai movie.
That's why Wizard of Oz is the perfect isekai.
Mm-hmm. And I'm not going to argue with that.
No, you can't. You're the professor. You know what's up. You're the
that is one way you can do it.
Peter Pan.
Well, it's like you can do the fish out of water protagonist having things explained to them. That's like what Star Wars does with Luke Skywalker learning about Jedi Knights and all that.
Right, but that's a great example, is you have to have a good reason to exposit all that. If you're expositing to the person who's been living in this circumstance for the past 15 years, you're going to go, why are they explaining this to this person?
But if you're, it's like Ben said, it's like, this is just a thing of the genre, and if you're there for it and they present it in the way that tickles that part of your brain that goes, oh, they're doing the thing like from the thing that I watch. Like, I think more and more of just like, does the itch of wanting to see it live action get scratched by like the people on YouTube who make the little shorts of like fight scenes and whatnot, where it's like, these people get it and they're using like the costumes they cobbled together and the special effects they can do, where it just like, it's like, oh, this is on a bigger budget, though, this is what it's supposed to feel like.
Do I want a live action adaptation of Neon Genesis Evangelion? My heart says yes, because what I am envisioning is I want something that takes the anime bullshit out of that story and makes it a really deep, intense movie.
But would it still be Neon?
Wait.
Now hold on.
Wait. Hold on. If you take all the anime bullshit out of Evangelion, what are you left with?
Yeah, what's left?
Now hold on. You still have to, this is what I'm saying, you still have to have giant robots. I'm super interested in the biblical revelations, big government conspiracy. We trapped God in the basement and I'm trying to become the new Messiah. Like,
you just want the world of Evangelion.
I like what they did with Evangelion. I like the big, deep mysteries of Evangelion.
But you don't need a live action. There's nothing about it being live action that solves your problem. You just want another person to take a crack at it, and usually a live action adaptation is a way to filter out some bullshit.
I want that. I want it to be that one layer less abstracted. But at the same time, I cannot think of any good way to do it.
Then don't.
And that's why.
That's all these. Just is. Then don't.
I couldn't think of a good way to do Iron Man either. But somebody did come along and make it work.
Yeah.
So if somebody could come along with an idea for that, I'd love to hear it, but I think too often what happens with the anime IPs is we have this very recognizable, very successful intellectual property, and we have not figured out how to milk all the money out of it yet. And there's a way to do this. Like you crack the live action Dragon Ball, you've got yourself a franchise that could rival Harry Potter.
Yep,
and
100%.
I forgot.
But you have to crack it. You have to solve that puzzle. You have to solve that puzzle box, and nobody's done it yet.
Yeah.
Nobody that's got movie making money and access to the IP has done it. Again, maybe somebody on YouTube's figured it out. I love freaking Mega 64's like sweeted version of some of those arcs in like 15 minutes. They're incredible.
I saw somebody was doing the Trunks, the future Trunks storyline live action.
That could have been
a
really
bunch
cool.
of actors.
Yeah.
The effects were good. It looked good, but it was just. Could that translate to a whole movie? I don't think so.
So maybe it doesn't need to be. Like maybe that's the thing is we keep thinking it needs to go in a movie box, which is like I kind of appreciate them going like let's do it as a series instead of a movie.
Yeah, that's true.
But again, I mean that one we're like on the bleeding edge of now with Bebop and like One Piece coming, and who knows what else will come out of this.
I think
terrible Asian Pandora's box.
My 2 cents on it is it's gonna happen.
Yep.
We need to figure out a way to make it not terrible.
It's going to be a trip. What is that? When Luffy throws a punch in live action, am I going to vomit? I don't know. Yeah, it's probably going to suck. I'm going to be hate watching it 100%. With my friend that's into One Piece, I'm 100% going to be hate watching that thing, and I'm very excited.
Yeah.
Okay.
But here's the thing.
Okay, yeah, go for it. I'm getting ready to pull my silver bullet out.
If 3 reasonably intelligent people talking into microphones can figure out that the thing that's missing is that you have to make it its own thing, why is it that the entire industry hasn't got that shit together
because
yet?
It took them because Hollywood's dumb and it took them decades to figure out comic book movies.
All the Marvel stuff is there. It's
Yeah.
been there for 10 years already. There's no reason why Cowboy Bebop had to be what it was when they had the blueprint.
Because the studios don't get it yet. Like that's again, I keep coming back to the video game ones because that's where my wheelhouse is. It's
But
like
Marvel is
they
printing money.
but
Disney
it's different.
prints money with the Marvel.
Comics have been around longer than these things in America.
There are people at Disney who are very, very talented filmmakers who are also very, very deeply influenced by comic books, and I think that's we're one generation away from that.
Now,
it's starting to show up in TV stuff. Like that's why I love it. It's just like anime is just present in like the majority of like animated television right now. It's just it is permeated through everything, but that has not made it up to like live action movie status.
Is it that those people who are the manga equivalent of those comic book people who are making those movies, is it that they don't exist, or are they just not in the right positions yet?
They're not in the right positions yet. That's what Ben said. It's a generational thing. We are one generation away.
I think James Cameron got Battle Angel Alita, and I think he made a great Battle Angel Alita movie. And I think in the 80s, that movie would have blown everyone's minds.
Wow.
Yeah.
But Battle Angel Alita feels very 80s.
It's like the Akira movie that is continually
I don't know if you could have
threatened against us.
Well, and
despite me never seeing Akira, admittedly.
Oh my God, that's right. Leonardo DiCaprio's Akira.
No.
Yeah, he super wants to make it. Like I said, when I say threatened, I mean like there are big Hollywood people who like really want to make an Akira movie really badly just because they love Akira.
I've been reminded of so many horrible things tonight.
Okay.
Akira studied in film schools. Like, there are people who know that.
Exactly. That's why. But it's like, will they get it right?
God.
I don't know.
Well, because this is what I was going to say, though, is there's another challenge in interpreting Japanese stuff, and that is it's set in Japan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And making an American movie set in Japan, that's where a lot of them fall on their face.
That's one of the huge leaps of manga coming to Western audiences, is that you have the Japanese point of view as your core.
Yeah, and even if you do an all Japanese cast, just the fact that it's in English, like
the vibe's different.
If you do an Akira movie, you're going to have to explain little things like the school system in Japan.
Yeah.
Because they're all in this remedial Votech thing. But there's so many weird quirks of the school system, and like Japan.
But can you get around that? Can you get around all that?
When you start writing around that, I think you wind up with Scarlett Johansson as Motoko Kusanagi.
Okay. So let me load my silver bullet now.
All right.
2 words for you: Speed Racer.
Okay.
Have you ever seen it? I watched it recently after hearing about it for years. That is a movie that embraces the weirdness of its source material and adores it and just goes for it.
Okay,
and very few times it's like, there's not like the Bubsy 3D, like, can you believe this? And they kind of, you can't see me, but I'm doing the little like thumb, like, oh my gosh, roll your eyes at people.
I don't think, because here's the thing. Lots of people think Speed Racer is bad. So I don't know that that's a great example. I will go with it, though, because I personally think that it did a good job.
Yeah.
So
I mean, maybe that's the thing, is it's not for everybody.
Right. But I also don't think that that would work for many other series, because like it leaned so heavily into what it was that it sort of did its own thing.
Yeah.
And that worked in that.
It embraced it so wholeheartedly, so genuinely. It embraced its source material and how strange and weird and the melodrama and the comedy and all of that. And I think it made something special that no one else has been able to really has tried or been able to recreate. But to your point, Brad, I think that's the thing we said, of like, who are these movies made for? The people who already like the source material, or the general the populace? Because no matter what, you're going to have to change things enough to get that. If you want the general populace, you have to change things, because if you didn't have to change things, the general populace would already be watching the source material, but they're not. That's why you're doing this. But if you change it too far, now you've alienated your base of people who already love the source material, and now no one's happy.
Yeah, and I think the Speed Racer one is a weird one, because I think if you did it as its own thing, like we're saying that you should do, but also like trying to make it for a general audience, it would not be appreciated by the fans, because it would have to be so drastically different from what it is at its core.
Well, and you would lose the reason. Like, the reason Iron Man works is because they found a way. And I'm going to be blunt. The Iron Man comics suck.
Yeah.
I'll take a.
He used to be like a C-lister, right?
There's a reason that they pivoted Tony Stark in the comics to be a lot more like Robert Downey Jr. And it's because Iron Man comics kind of sucked. They found the thing that people liked about it, and they managed to keep that while changing everything around it.
Painting the spaces that aren't already occupied.
Yeah.
Keep what you need, and then just painting those other spots.
But too often, in trying to translate it to a Western audience or to a general audience, they can't figure out how to also keep the core. And I think that's what Detective Pikachu got. It kept kind of the magic and the fun of Pokemon without losing all of that in translation.
And then painted its own little picture that was a good picture amongst that.
Yeah.
Getting that feeling right.
And there would Speed Racer and Battle Angel Alita, these are like James Cameron and the Wachowskis are directors who can get weird, and I'm sure they do understand it, because I'm sure they are influenced by these things. Obviously, the Wachowskis are hugely influenced by anime. The Matrix has a ton of anime references.
The Animatrix.
The Animatrix exists.
I just wanted to say that word because it was fun.
But yeah, if you're the studio giving them money,
no,
you're like.
There's a reason when I was growing up, it's like I had my really short list of, I know these people would not be into anime, but it's like, I mean, to bring us full circle, it's like Cowboy Bebop was like the one anime that I like, because I had like a friend that I was like giving torrented files of like cartoon shows. I'm like, watch these are really good, or watch this. And like Cowboy Bebop was like the one anime that I would go, check this out. It felt like it was the most approachable of anything, especially of that era, to give somebody who was like not in on that scene.
Well, and you'll notice a lot of the things that those animes that cross boundaries have in common is they're not set in a Japanese junior high or high school.
There you go. Yeah.
They're like that's a big problem with
Dragon Ball Z doesn't have that.
Yep. And so you can fill in the gaps, but like if you're going to make a live action My Hero Academia, you can't have Deku on page 1 telling you about Hero Society and 100 years ago the world was destroyed by meta powers and
you can do that in a movie.
I guess Lord of the Rings has
a bunch
the most
of
egregious one.
a bunch of movies have the like semi-animated or like really highly stylized like either main character or narrator bit going, here's the world, and that's like gives you context to it. It's not a good example, but the thing that comes to mind the most is the Super Mario Brothers movie. But I know there's a bunch of other movies that like set up lore right at the top before like the actual movie starts. Where you get the big narration thing.
The only reason the Super Mario Brothers movie is bad is because it's
not a Super Mario Brothers
movie.
Well, no, because it's not a Super Mario Brothers movie.
Because they say it's a Super Mario.
Yeah, because they wanted the money. That's the story of the
and
director.
Because they went, Mario.
And they embrace it, and I freaking respect him for that. That's respect from me to you, to those them being forced to put that in there.
I've definitely seen worse movies.
Yeah. We're going to see Illuminations Mario. It's going to be the most palatable thing that's ever existed.
You guys just keep reminding me of awful things.
It's going to make money. Oh, shoot, I forgot it's Chris Pratt. No, I'm upset.
Why would you do? You have the perfect voice actor already. He's right there. He's been doing.
Why would you
ever?
Why would you pick whatever? No, that's not what this is about. Okay,
conversation for another time.
Yes.
Is why celebrity voice actors?
No, that's just going to be a hate pit. We don't need to do that.
I've been being upset over and over again throughout this whole conversation, and you know what?
You invited that with this topic. Let's be real.
Have upset me even more because I've been staring at your shirt.
Oh.
And I'm so upset.
Well, you're going to have to explain. No, I know what it is. I'm not the audience. You have to explain. Okay. You can't do a visual bit to the audience.
I will explain.
Yeah,
if you're going to keep this in.
Ben is wearing a shirt. It says Alchemy Crossing. It's a Full Metal Alchemist
Animal Crossing.
Of Animal Crossing. However, the character on the shirt is a very tragic one that I won't spoil, but it's very upsetting.
I won't spoil it.
And I'm sure everyone knows what I'm talking about.
If you've seen Full Metal Alchemist.
Edward.
Do you guys know I have a superpower?
Yeah, you've read all the isekai that have ever existed.
Well, that's not a superpower. That's an obsession.
Hey, at a certain level, that's a superpower. You know how like they say like science at a certain level, like technology at a certain level is magic? An ability at a certain level is just a superpower. Or an obsession at a certain level.
No, I literally have a supernatural power. I am able to manifest anime into existence.
No. When you read every possible source material.
You're just casting the widest net, which also, again, is your superpower of just reading all of them.
Just, I have a short list here. I'll just go ahead and read a couple of these off to you. These are all manga that I have been reading recently that are now, or very shortly, anime.
Anime.
The world's finest assassin gets reincarnated in another world as an aristocrat. The strongest sage with the weakest crest. In the land of Lidl. Life with an ordinary guy who reincarnated into a total fantasy knockout. I've been killing slimes for 300 years and maxed out my level. The Faraway Paladin. Moonlight Fantasy. Spirit Chronicles. Banished from the hero's party, I decided to live a quiet life in the countryside. How a realist hero rebuilt the kingdom. Jobless reincarnation. She professed herself pupil of the wise man.
Did you just say she breastfed herself?
Professed.
Oh, I thought you said breastfed herself, and I'm like, Jesus.
There's an isekai for that.
I'm sure there is.
It's so interesting because I started... I got obsessed with isekai, and I started reading all of these, and these were all ones that I was like, oh, I like these. These are really good. And then all of a sudden... I get YouTube recommendations. I start seeing these trailers, and just over months, they keep popping up. Like, here's a one that's coming out in a couple months. And it's like, wait a minute, I recognize that. Yeah. That's this manga. Just over and over and over again.
They're really popular right now.
Can you release a bonus episode though, where you read the list of titles you've read that have not become an anime adaptation.
What's your batting average,
think
sir?
anybody wants to listen to me talk for 4.5 hours.
But that's my
You have to
point.
do it in like a Troy McClure voice. Hi, I'm Troy McClure. You might remember me from such isekai as
Hi, I'm Isekai
Sensei-Sama.
You might remember me from such podcasts as
In another world where baseball is war. Gosh, one day there'll be enough chapters about that to actually talk about it.
Oh yeah, we'll get to that.
What if I told you that every manga with like more than 100 chapters gets an anime?
You're welcome.
Brad's
Hey,
gift.
listen.
Brad's gift to you, Ben.
If you really like a manga and you want it to be an anime, send it over. I'll read it. It'll become.
I mean, that's true of even non-isekai manga that you've read.
That's true.
That we've read.
Yeah, I didn't list them because there's too many of them, but there are a bunch of non-isekai manga that I read that are also becoming anime. I decided I didn't want the whole podcast to be me just reading off titles. So
I will now read the phone book.
basically.
Admiral Anthony Abernacle. Annie
What is that?
Aberdeen. Somebody probably made that joke somewhere else, and I just made up names instead that start with the letter A.
That's hilarious. But yeah, it's I figured I would bring that up. We're talking about adaptations this week, and I feel like there's a lot of crap adaptations. And the thing is,
You said it.
the adaptations of these I've watched not all of them. They're all on my list to watch. I haven't watched them all yet. But the ones that I have watched, most of them are very generic. Which, to be fair, most of the manga are very generic as well.
Let's crank them out.
But it's very strange to me because I feel like if you're going to spend the time that is necessary to animate something, why are you doing something so generic and bland? Like, I like these as manga. I like the stories and everything, but the animation doesn't give you much more than what the manga already does.
It's like an action comic.
Yeah,
Almost
basically.
not action.
And in a lot
What's
of
the word that I want?
in a lot of cases, it's literally just an animated
Emotion.
version of the manga,
Emotion
beat
comic.
for beat, and it's like you haven't added anything to this. Now, some of them do. Some of them add a lot. Andrew, I sent you the World's Finest Assassin, the opening for that, and also the last episode's battle. And you said you enjoyed those. The thing is, the rest of that anime is very bland. Like, there's not a lot to the animation. You know, I like the story, but it's not like, oh, this is an amazing story. It's just there's a few parts in it that are really cool.
I mean, a manga is just a storyboard, even more, I think, sometimes in like American comics, especially when you're going from still images to moving images that are not live action. It feels like it'd be really easy to just go frame by frame and just the person talks instead of it being a word bubble, or like instead of being implied motion, we draw them moving across the screen. Like, I feel like it's really easy to just create these, people watch it, people see the ads, they go back, they read the manga if they like it. If not, whatever. It was cheaply made, it's cheaply moved on from.
I guess that's the same problem that I have with anime to live action, which is there isn't something that makes it its own thing to make it worthwhile.
They didn't. In this case, it's not. They need to make it their own thing. They need to use the new dimension, like the new pieces they get to play with, to elevate the source material. You have motion now. You have sound. In a lot of cases, you have color. How can you use that to better sell the idea of what it is?
Yeah,
I think it's just. I mean, I understand why they keep trying to make movies of stuff that they don't really want to make a movie about, and it's money. But I understand how that can make money more easily in live action. I think just because
General populace.
I'm from the land of Hollywood. But if I were from the land of anime, I think maybe it's just the same thing. Is they've got a lot of streaming services and TV channels that need programming, and
I get. Yeah, that's
I can
probably what
put this
comes in.
out there.
The machine cranks and it never, ever, ever stops. Capitalism, capitalism, capitalism.
Yeah, really. Because that's the thing. It's not that it's not possible to make them good.
No.
So other YouTubers and podcasters have talked about this endlessly, so I'm not going to get too deep into it. But the adaptation of Jobless Reincarnation, which I'm not going to try and pronounce the actual name. Ben might want to, but the anime adaptation of that is excellent. The animation is on point, like the voice acting, like everything about it is excellent. So it's obviously possible. They took the source material of that and said, here are the things that make this great. We're going to expand on that.
Yeah. Effort.
Right. You put effort into it. And so yeah, you're probably right, is that there's just a factory assembly line of these that are going out that's like, we already have the source material. We don't have to get a writer or anything. Just make it animated.
Yeah.
So I don't know how it works in Japan, but I do know with books in America, it has gotten to the point now where when you cut a book deal, you almost always sell at least an option for a movie or series television rights. And a lot of
Netflix doesn't just automatically give you one.
well, that's the thing. A lot of them never wind up getting made, but a lot of people buy at least the option. And I'm guessing something similar happens with manga publication. Is probably there's a lot of animation studios out there, some of them more reputable than others. And you might, the ones with money, you're like UFO Tables or Bones or
Mappa.
Yeah. They have like a scout looking for what they want. And they see like, I can do something with this, and they bid high on it. But if you're a lesser known author, maybe,
Or a lesser known studio.
yeah, they'll bid low, and you know, the mangaka is just like, it's money in my pocket. I'll sell it. I'll let you option it. But yeah, it probably is a need to fill content, not any artistic interest in the property, which is probably the main difference. Is I you know, I'm not a big Isekai fan, but
You take that back.
but anything that is done with a certain amount of like intentionality and care can be good.
So, you know, you bring up the studios. Have you ever heard of Studio Bind?
No.
Okay, so that sort of goes out the window because Studio Bind did Jobless Reincarnation. So
But maybe they cared.
and
Yeah.
that's the thing.
Were the
Like,
people making it given time and money to be able to do it?
right? They obviously were, to some extent.
Well,
but
and I
that's-
also don't know how the studios are financed.
Also true.
Do they front the money?
That I don't know.
Because that's the thing. Like, if it is every isekai they animate, every manga they animate, a gamble, do you decide where you're going to put your money? Do you put like 3 animators on this and they have to use like Adobe After Effects to make it look like there's motion in the background?
Yeah, it's the cast the nets because one of these might work. I don't remember what studio it is, but it's like they do that with like indie horror in some cases. Like, let's just give a not nothing chunk of change, but in the general grand scheme of Hollywood stuff, barely anything. All 10 of you go make 10 different movies.
They made
then-
this movie for only $10 million.
And then one of them will come back and be a really giant hit, and then you've made money both for that and all the other ones that didn't work.
Oh, yeah. It's like Blair Witch Project.
Exactly. Like, that's the poster child of it.
Yeah.
This was made for nothing. It made millions.
They saw Blair Witch Project and they went nuts with that. Thinking like,
But like
oh,
that's the thing.
we
It's
can
like,
do it now.
what if this is the one that
I'm
hits for
elected.
whatever reason? So you might as well just cast a wide, cheap net,
Yeah.
and then maybe you strike gold for one of them. That's all you need. Find the whale.
So
Capitalism.
do you think there's like, have you seen with the isekai that having an anime grows the audience for the manga?
I mean,
That's
there
a
are more
good
people
question.
watching anime than reading manga.
Unfortunately, I'm not really sure about that because my general platform for consuming the manga has not had community involvement for a little while. So it's hard to gauge that right now. It might be that, but then also like when I watch a new anime and then find out that it has a manga, I generally don't go back and read that manga. There's a few that I've done that with, mostly because like I want to continue the story and I don't want to wait for the anime to come back because some of them take forever. Looking at you, Overlord. But it's generally like, oh, I've watched the anime. I got the story. I don't need the manga at this point. So I don't know that and I have to feel like that's what other people do as well. So I don't know that would really grow the audience that much.
It's easier. That is another point too, is probably it's easier to consume an anime than it is to consume a manga than it is to consume a book. And so more people are going to watch your anime than read your manga than read your book.
I think, though, Brad's point, at least that I also have it too, is that it's not that it's, oh, you're going to read what you already saw. You're going to go, well, I want to know what happens next.
Yeah.
And there's like, I did that with, back before it was all out, I did that with JoJo. I do that with Jujutsu Kaisen. I do that with, I guess I didn't do it with Demon Slayer. But
I did it with Demon Slayer.
I know you did it with Demon Slayer and My Hero. Like, I think all of us have had one or two where it's just like, well, I want to know what happens next. And I went and I read the manga in its place.
Yeah. Do you think a mediocre animation is better than no animation for a title's success?
No, like a bunch of those on my list, even though I'm obviously manifesting these, like I wish I didn't. A lot of them don't need to exist. Like
Monkey's Paw.
Yeah, there isn't a point to it. For every one that is done very well, there's 10 to 20 that are just garbage. And maybe not. Garbage might be too harsh, although they are isekai. But
Thank you.
Like they're really not good enough that you would watch it and go, that it was a good idea for them to animate that.
Is it a good idea to animate this?
It's almost, I go back to what you had said before. It's like, it's almost like they have to fill a quota. And this is an easy way to do it because the source material exists and it's not complicated.
Well, and to Andrew's point with horror always makes money. Because even terrible horror, for whatever reason, people enjoy the jump scare.
But horror can be cheap. Animation is never cheap. The shittiest animation is still expensive.
But if you have to fill animation slots, if an animation is going in that programming slot anyway, is Isekai just so popping right now that...
Well, that's
true. Isekai is the most popular thing right now by the numbers, so that's...
Yes, Isekai is the most popular thing.
I don't know if you're being sarcastic or you're just being mean to me that you like the thing that's the most popular. If 1 million people isekai'd themselves off a bridge, would you do it too?
God, he would jump first.
First, yeah. Other world, here I come.
I am done with this world.
So there's another series that's getting an anime adaptation that we all read the manga of.
And is not an isekai.
Well,
just to be
yet.
clear. What do you mean not? Actually, no, you're right. Who knows what's going to happen next?
To be fair, there was that one part where it was an isekai.
I don't even remember. Whatever. I'm putting it off. What are we talking about, Brad?
We all read this series and we really enjoyed it, so we wanted to give that one a recommendation, and that is Chainsaw Man.
Chainsaw Man is a trip. I feel like we all, I started reading manga again, and that was the first thing that I read. I think that was the thing that pulled me in, where it was just people were just going, you need to check this out. It's not like anything else. And it's not. And we've already talked about Spy X Family, or whatever the heck we're calling it, and, all things together, that's a better thing. But, Chainsaw Man is an experience.
Yeah.
And one I think people should experience, genuinely, and not just because, it's... I'm blathering. Somebody take the mic from me, please. I've got more thoughts, but I need to think.
Chainsaw Man is why I initially got into anime and manga when I was a kid. It is weird. It is hyper violent. It's very well drawn. And I've just never seen anything quite like it. It takes me so far back to classic manga, like that classic Akira where people are just getting blown apart.
But also, is esoteric the right word? Where it's just it's grappling with heavy ideas, and sometimes it handles it well, and sometimes it doesn't. But it just freaking old JoJo memes. It just works.
Yeah,
it just flows. It presents to you like you are constantly presented insane new ideas that change everything, and then and like a chapter or two later, everything changes again. But there's just there's so many parts where it just shouldn't work, and it just does.
I don't use
it's so powerful.
I don't use these words lightly. Instant classic.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I said, like I like Spy Family more, but there's just there's power to it. We should probably talk about what it's about.
There's a quality to Chainsaw Man that I would liken to Attack on Titan, if people are familiar with that, where nothing is really static in the world. You have your protagonist, but everything around the protagonist can change at a moment's notice and will never be the same throughout the rest of it.
But it's not as like I talked about earlier, like I didn't really like Attack on Titan where it's just like I don't just need people randomly dying.
Sure,
but like
sure.
It feels different here than like a Walking Dead where it's just like this is like everything is chaos, but like it just like I said, it just there's something about it like it rides threads of just feeling and emotion. And here, let's paint this picture. Okay, so Chainsaw Man is about this like dude named I think Denji. I literally just read the first 2 chapters.
You should
I'm
probably
terrible
know
with
it
names.
then.
I should because they say it a couple times. He is down on his luck. The world is infested by demons.
Down on his luck
is an understatement.
Yeah.
Like so this Chainsaw Man starts as
Bleak.
one of the most depressing things I've ever read.
A very pitiable human.
He's selling his organs for food money.
Yeah, it's literally like he's living in this world. He's all alone. The people who he thought were on his side and helping him out betray him. Like
his dad leaves him with a massive debt.
It's just so depressing. And yet he's got some hope. Like he shouldn't.
It's not 100% bleak.
He shouldn't have any hope, but he does. He keeps moving forward until he literally gets chopped into pieces.
But he's also chopped alongside his little buddy with his little demon, like chainsaw dog, who then, I guess, reconstitutes him as like a blood contract, and now he's inside of him, and he just has this little ripcord that he can pull and become Chainsaw Man, which has Big Ben vibes of like if I read this when I was a teenager, where it just he gets like uber detailed and all of his limbs are chainsaws, and it's madness.
Later.
What?
Just his head to start.
Truth. Okay.
Yeah. So
and it just yeah.
The core concept of this world is that demons have manifested in real life, and some of the demons are sort of just run wild, but people have found that they can make contracts with the demons and then use those demons to fight the other ones. A demon's power is derived from humanity's fear of that demon. So each demon has sort of like a core tenet that it is.
Sometimes.
Which is what the fear is from. So, for example, there is a shark demon. So people in the world are afraid of sharks. That gives that demon its power. There are many, many other demons. The shark demon actually isn't that powerful, but he's awesome, and I love that character.
Art looks great.
But to not spoil anything, there are certain demons that are basically all powerful because of the prevalence of fear of that thing.
They're just primal fears.
What if Jujutsu Kaisen was on speed and really angsty?
Well, that's the thing. Like
Jujutsu Kaisen.
What?
Everything in Chainsaw Man is a weird metaphor. Like the person who wrote this, was it Tatsuya Endo?
I can't help you with the name.
That sounds right.
Yeah.
They have obviously been thinking about this
Yes.
for a long time, but they're also not pretentious about it.
No.
It doesn't smack you over the head or anything. The theme is there if you want to look for it, but you don't have to.
I resonated with it a lot at the time because I read the first couple of chapters again to refresh myself, and I guess we've got the time to get into it. Like, I did not know that we read this so long ago. I was going through a really bad like breakup and reconstruction period and was just feeling very alone in that space. And literally that's the thing of Denji, like in the beginning of just like, I literally just like, I want a girl. I want that contact. I'll do literally anything. And literally he like is taken in by women essentially like as a dog, as a
yeah.
pet.
So that's
and it was just this. I understood that feeling at that time. I don't now. I've freaking grown as a person, thank goodness. But like that, just like I just want some sort of
what's that base
sense of belonging, continuity. So I will just do whatever I need to do to just stick around
he's
this.
So low,
human contact, rock bottom.
Right.
Yeah.
He is so low that literally his only thoughts are, I want a cheeseburger and I want to see boobs.
I want to touch a boob, but it's not like it's not the normal like anime manga like horny like
right.
Dragon Ball. Like that's the thing that makes it interesting, because when you say it to somebody like, and it's called Chainsaw Man, you're like, yeah, cool, whatever. But it's like you get the sense, because he's also just kind of like, he's just a crass whoever.
Yeah.
You get the sense that he wants to touch a boob, but he doesn't even really know what that means.
Yeah, exactly.
That's just something somebody told him was desirable, and he'd like to have one pleasant experience.
That's his view of like contact and connection with somebody. Because yeah, exactly. He is just so down. He's very pitiable, but it's never too bleak.
I mean,
it rides it like a razor thin edge, like a chainsaw blade.
It's bleak if you think about it.
yeah,
yes,
it's pretty much too bleak the whole time. The thing is,
I don't know. I'm usually put off by things that are too like bleak and edgelordy.
It has a sense of humor.
Yes.
well, here's the
It has just enough going on that there's just enough of a little fire to keep yourself warm while you're going through it, and it's just moving so fast and it's so wild, and then a man turns into chainsaw and cuts everything to bits in this crazy art, and you're just like, okay, sure, I'll keep going.
There's so many ups and downs.
Yes.
What happens is, it starts. It's not really super far down to start, because he's doing his thing. He's working for a living. Then it goes down real fast. It gets way, way down there. And then he becomes Chainsaw Man. And so it starts coming back up. But then almost immediately it goes back down because he's Chainsaw Man, he needs to be controlled by the government.
Yeah. And being Chainsaw Man hurts him. He loses so much blood.
Right. And so it's a roller coaster. It keeps going up and down, up and down, right up until the very end of, I guess, season 1.
I guess. It's the biggest, I guess. Sure, there'll be more, but I don't know.
Like, I would say almost series 1, because whatever comes next is basically a sequel.
JoJo Part 2.
Yeah.
So, but right at the very, I mean, I guess
even.
the very, very end is an up. But right before the very end, we do another way down.
Just also, but like so, and even just through all that, just so many weird, interesting ideas and moments, both big and small. And sometimes it feels like there's like schizophrenic bits of like a shonen battler in there for like a moment, and like they know what they're doing, and then you're back to like weird interpersonal drama and like personal growth, and Power shows up, and I've said it before, I don't know if I've said it on podcast yet. There's a demon named Power in that who will become the internet's favorite waifu. When if the anime is as good as I think it will be and it hits, the internet is going to love Power. I know this beyond a shadow of a doubt. If I could put money in it like a stock, I would buy so much stock in Power. She is going to clean up.
If there was ever a character that I would put on an alignment chart as chaotic neutral.
Yes.
Yeah.
The internet loves that. You make that a hot, cute girl who's like all weird and she's got the little fangoids. She's not like my thing. I know I'm like repping this real big. She's not my kind of lady in waifu material. But I know what the internet likes, and they're going to like this.
Well, yeah, that's the biggest difference though, is like we've talked about how depressing it is and how like up and down it is, but if you compare it to something like Attack on Titan, though I like it, I own every volume of the manga, is all the way up its own ass.
Yep.
And it's very into its themes, and it has no sense of humor about them at all. The closest you get is the hungry girl likes potatoes.
Yeah.
But
I have no context for that, but it made me
it made me laugh 2 times.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, this is old.
Hungry girl likes potatoes.
Yeah. And Chainsaw Man's not like that, because all of the characters are stupid.
Not all.
No.
Most of them.
Not all. Yeah.
The characters like Denji and Power are idiot children.
Yeah.
And there are like adults playing like 50-dimensional chess. At least the one woman is.
Yeah, but the battles are so over the top. Chainsaw Man in itself, like the author is doing a lot of deep stuff, but they're not unaware that their character is called Chainsaw Man.
And he cuts and he turns into chainsaws and cuts things to bits. He does all this other stuff. He never loses it. You know what this actually makes me think about a lot, and conceptually, like, there's cool action stuff, and there's a bunch of more like deeper meaning that you can look for it if you want, but you don't need to. But if you do, it's like a good time. I always go back to Mad Max Fury Road. Mad Max Fury Road is a great action movie, and if you don't want to think about feminism at all, you don't have to. You can just have a great time with that movie as just an action flick, turn off your brain. But if you want to think about feminism and all the other metaphors and symbolism going on and power dynamics going on there, it is there for you, and it also rules, so you can get it on both. And there's the man who's got the blindfold, and he's playing a guitar, and it shoots fire, and it's the coolest. And then a bunch of old ladies like shoot up a bunch of like dumb child boys because they're idiots. Like, it's great.
That is the thing.
But it also has like deeper meanings about, like, you know,
if you
feminism.
read Chainsaw Man and don't pay much attention, it does come off sort of as a shonen battler. Like,
in bits.
Yeah. Like you
his power is chainsaws, and when he gets stronger, there's more chainsaws.
And he like figures out new stuff with him, which like I wasn't expecting. But yeah, you're also coming back to like weird melodrama stuff. Yeah. I don't want to spoil too much, but
and that's the thing. Like I said, if you're not paying too much attention, it's hard to not pay attention in the manga because it does give it plenty of time to breathe or weep on the floor.
It's strange. It gives it the space it needs to do whatever it's doing, and that's why I'm so curious how the anime is going to capture its vibe. Because like even in reading it, it has a vibe, and either they can use their movement and the music and the sound, where it's going to be like I'm buying stock in Chainsaw Man because if they do it right, it's going to be big, and I think it'll work better as animation than manga.
It's easy to recommend the manga because it was #1 for a while.
Yeah, out of nowhere.
And it's an excellent manga. We're definitely recommending it.
The art's great. I don't even know how the animation is going to match the art style.
That you are okay with like hyperviolence.
Yeah, I was going to say, there's some trigger warnings there.
Yes.
Massive depression.
Big trigger warnings.
The thing is, though, like as we've talked about with like the isekai stuff, it's very easy to churn out a crap anime of a manga adaptation. I think that they can't do this one poorly.
No.
Because it was so popular.
But having time and money is not an assured...
Right. It's still
like,
possible
knock out of the
to
park.
Screw it up. And
we've seen the trailer and it looks like they're on the right track.
Yeah.
The teaser.
It's easier to screw something up than it is to get it right. However,
I have
you spend the
faith,
time on it. Yeah.
Which I usually have very little of for things, but in this case, this feels like... Even more so than Spy Family, this seems like such an easy slam dunk. It's just like, get a director who knows what they're doing, that gels with it. Like, if this feels like it's easier to fire on all cylinders to make work in a different form.
I think the only real question is, can it take on Jujutsu Kaisen? I think it's going to be easily...
it's different. They're different. They're two... Like, I know they're very similar, but they're also just... They are Jujutsu Kaisen, while doing its own crazy stuff, is more shonen-y than Chainsaw Man.
But also, that brings up the question of, does it have to compete?
No, but it's gonna. I mean...
They're very...
going to be compared.
There's a lot of overlap between them when you think about it.
I think unless you get into a space where there's way too many of one thing, that people will watch the one or two really good ones.
Could I posit that there are maybe way too many... junior high to high schoolers fighting demons?
Yes, but I'm going to agree with Brad said that the cream rises to the top. Right. I think the corners of the internet that already know about Chainsaw Man, who have read it, like us and other people that we listen to, are already all buzzing about it. Like, people will know about it.
Oh, I think Chainsaw Man...
And if it's garbage, people will know about it. And if it's a hit, people will know about it.
Like, Chainsaw Man, Jujutsu Kaisen, Demon Slayer, these are all great. And I'm rooting for all of them. But after that, I could do without another one.
Getting kind of tired. Need a break. No, I can dig it.
I think that for Chainsaw Man, a lot of people are gonna watch the anime and like it, and it's not gonna matter that it was a manga. It is gonna live on its own as an anime. I personally think it's gonna be great. There's still a possibility it could be bad.
Yeah,
but I think it'll do its own thing. It'll be out there. It'll be visually appealing. The story is already excellent. The characterizations, I think...
I agree with you. The anime could easily top the manga. in the way that I would say the Demon Slayer anime massively elevates
that's a really
them
good.
on.
Yeah.
The Demon Slayer manga looks terrible.
Yeah,
It's definitely not the worst, but
it gets better as they go on, but it never
like,
rises to that level.
right. If you look at it like from my perspective, where I saw the anime and then saw the manga, it's
went,
like, what? This came from this?
Yeah, but not in like a fun, like One Punch Man sort of way.
Yeah, not like the web comic.
Yeah.
But yeah.
No,
Freaking
it's actually
Psycho.
like the artist struggled a bit to get what they wanted on the page, like the water effect on top.
And the anime like elevated it because that was one of the things at least season 1 had. It was specifically just like the in motion was just such a delight to see. It was just it was firing on all cylinders.
I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with that. I think, manga is its own
Thing,
format. Anime is its own format. You're pulling the story. Obviously, there's some overlap in like, these different scenes, the visuals are important and that kind of thing. But the style of Chainsaw Man is very much its own style. Like there's a couple of trappings of manga in there, but if you go and you check it out, you'll see that it's like it lives on its own in manga. Like,
so what I was going to say with the Demon Slayer Chainsaw Man comparison is Demon Slayer is almost an anthology of short tragedies with a shonen battle wrapper. And the combination of really good animation and really good music makes both of those things hit real hard.
voice acting.
Yeah, and it elevates it to the next level.
Is it more than the sum of its parts?
Yeah. I think so. And I think Chainsaw Man, the word you guys keep using to describe it is chaotic.
Yeah.
I would throw in energetic, like frenetic. If you do it right with the addition of like fast-paced music and real high-quality animation, that's going to pop. And then if you can add in a little bit of that humor that Jujutsu Kaisen has, because I think there's room for that in Chainsaw Man.
A little bit, yeah. With like a dark humor.
Yeah.
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 That was the wildest thing about Jujutsu Kaisen for me is the show is so much funnier than the manga.
Yeah.
And it's like ages for the manga to actually show its like full comedy chops. And it's like, oh, this is how the anime gets it. It's because it's the same exact tone of it. It's just like, you took so long to show your full power.
But no, I could see, like, I would say, like, the only reason you need to read Demon Slayer is if you want to know the story. The anime is going to be the superior experience, in my opinion. And I think the same might be true with Chainsaw Man.
I don't know about that. I think it's going to be really good, but I think I love the art in Chainsaw Man so much. There's so many.
Better.
It's very, to our last episode, it's sometimes Junji Ito-esque in some of the major.
I don't think the Chainsaw Man manga to anime is going to be as drastic as a Demon Slayer
No,
one.
but I think it's still going to be a big deal.
It's going to be better.
It's going to be big.
Chainsaw Man, I will say, the devils in Chainsaw Man and the battles are awesome.
Yes.
Yeah.
The character design is a little plain.
Yep.
I mean, he just puts everybody in the same suit.
Right.
That's why I'm excited for it to be animated because I'll have an easier time keeping track of people because they'll have to be in color and they'll make different sounds. And I'm already really terrible at faces and names. So
Everybody's got a suit. Everybody's got a tight.
I was actually,
ponytail.
I looked up the
that's
character.
why Power is great. She was always very
I
identifiable.
looked up the character list here because I was going to name off a couple people, but like 90% of them are identical looking.
Yeah, because they're all just in suits. Everybody's in suits.
Yeah.
That's
I'm
the
like,
point. I think that's thematically maybe on purpose.
This is
There's too much other thing that's specific for that to not be kind
Devil
of.
Hunter 1 and Devil Hunter 2 and Devil Hunter 3.
He's very interested in
Actually,
the
this
devils.
says unnamed spear
Yeah,
hybrid.
that's where he wants you to
Long
focus.
sword hybrid, unnamed whip hybrid.
Brad, stop. Please stop.
That's your ASMR channel. It's just you reading lists.
Well, I think
Alexander.
everybody will really
Aberdeen.
enjoy the anime for Chainsaw Man.
But also read the manga.
recommend the
Genuinely read the manga.
and
be a
make
cool
sure
kid.
you-
Know about it beforehand.
You should at least read up until my favorite part, which is when it turns into an isekai, because they go to hell.
I was gonna say, is that what you were talking about?
Is that another world?
It's another plane of existence. I don't know.
I don't know. Like, I know you're the one that gets to decide, Brad, what's an isekai and what's not, but like, I'm throwing up the red card on that one.
That's your real superpower.
It's a different world.
I'm using the appeal process. Is it? Is hell not just another place here?
What is a world?
Is the Matrix an isekai?
Everything that you
it
can
is.
reach through physical space, through physical movement through space, counts as this world. So all the other planets, like, you can travel through space, you can get to them. That's the same world. As soon as you have to go through a dimensional barrier in one way or another, whether it's just your soul or your entire body, you are now in another world.
I don't know enough about quantum physics to dispute this.
I think he's won. I think he's that's why he's Professor Isekai Sensei-Sama.
I have suspicions.
I concede defeat.
We did it. Episode 4. It's over.
In the can.
Good job, guys.
Nice.
Woo, pat ourselves on the back.
As always, I had fun with this. I hope you guys did too.
Thanks,
Yep.
the listener, for listening. It's
Love having these
appreciated.
conversations. We got a lot of deep insight as well as some not deep insight. It's always fun.
So you need that. You need the fun, and you need the deep. You need the deep, and you need the surface in a good mix. That's what makes the best stuff. I feel like, at least in my opinion.
So don't forget to like, comment, follow, subscribe, whatever you need to do on all the different platforms, wherever you listen to us, so you can get alerts when these come out. And you can follow me on Twitter at Isekai Sensei. You can email me, isekaisensei-sama@gmail.com. We have our YouTube channel where we do unboxings. We missed last month, but that's okay. We'll be doing those again. Those are always a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And we simulcast the podcast up there as well if you prefer to listen on YouTube. And on YouTube, they're in stereo.
Wow.
You can also, as I said at the beginning of the podcast, check us out on Good Pods. It's a good place to leave comments and ratings, and that can help boost us in the charts.
You rate us on Spotify now, too.
Oh, yeah. You rate us on every platform. Just go to
Yep.
every single platform and rate it on every platform.
And while you're there, download it again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that'll be helpful.
Download it on everywhere. Make our numbers go up in a way that's really artificial.
I mean, listen to the whole episode, but
Yeah.
then download it on all the platforms.
Hey, I can sell it to advertisers just the same.
Although if they're listening to this part, then they've already listened to it the whole way through, haven't they?
There you go.
Start over. You gotta. It really pops on the second viewing. There's all these like little details we left
Yeah,
in there. You're not
I'm
gonna
sure you
notice.
missed so much. So,
I have a bunch of jokes. that
once
I
you
whispered
finish
into my
this
microphone.
episode 4, go back and start episode 1 again. Listen to them all again. So, Ben, you have a podcast of your own.
I do another podcast called Words About Books. You can check it out wherever you get your podcasts. You can find me on Twitter at WABpod or Bento Baggins. You can also see me streaming a bunch on twitch.tv/wordsaboutbooks. I'm playing through Elden Ring, and I'm making my struggle public.
You're definitely doing it.
Definitely struggling.
I'm getting there.
I'm told.
I have personally witnessed you actually beat a couple things.
Yep.
Oh.
It takes an hour sometimes, but
Yeah, those 2.5 to 3 hour streams are maybe pushing it.
hey, I got 3 bosses in 3 hours last night, so
Yeah, that was pretty impressive.
I didn't know you were watching.
I watch most of your stuff. I enjoy Words About Books. Like, no joke. I actually enjoy Words About Books.
That is good to hear.
And I think everybody would enjoy Words About Books. This is a recommendation. Go listen to Words About Books. It's a really good podcast.
But you know what you should really listen to is Ramble Rousers.
How dare you? How dare you, sir? I'm insulted. Ramble Rouses is me, Kermit the Grog Andrews, podcast where we talk about random things and sometimes interview my friends. Maybe one day I'll make a new episode and put it up there. But also, if this should get out in time, if you were in the Pennsylvania area, you can see me live at ZenkaiCon in Lancaster on the 25th and 26th of March, the year of our Lord 2022. Come hear me check me out talking about how we currently live or am possibly exiting in a TV animation golden age and some shows you should check out. I also have another panel partly researched and inspired by our chat from last episode about the evolution of the shonen action hero So that should be really cool. And also, I have a panel where we're watching a bunch of old weird video game commercials and laughing at them. It's a good time. So if you happen to listen to this in time and are there and can drive over, come on out. It should be a good time.
Do people need to get tickets for that?
Yeah, you gotta buy a pass to get in. But
is there a at the door or is there a website?
I don't know. I'm always a presenter, so I just get comped. So yes, Google Zenkai Con at Lancaster. I believe it's at the Lancaster Convention Center or whatever.
I forget what that's called.
I don't remember it either.
They change it every couple of years.
Yeah.
This will definitely be out by then, but definitely check it out as soon as possible so you don't miss that. Do they record those and put them?
I believe this is the first year they are even possibly live streaming it as well, but okay. I believe they're recording it.
So if you look at
opt in, which I am,
you can probably find those panels after the fact.
If we get them at all, maybe we'll link them onto the channel.
Yeah,
that
definitely.
Might be cool.
Probably on the next episode we'll plug that specifically. Hopefully. So once again, thanks for listening. It's been fun, everybody. We really appreciate everybody who listens to this, and we'd love to hear from you. But until next time, remember, if you find yourself in an animated world, just wait around for the live action adaptation.